Now, a lot of you probably know that I am a Apple and Steve Jobs fanboy, but I want to clear something up here this morning. Steve Jobs was a genius, and he will likely be remembered as one of the greatest and most iconic leaders in the history of business. In the areas of innovative design, clean and uncluttered, and consumer-centric functionality, Jobs was truly extraordinary. He led a journey into computerized devices that we carry, we wear, and we find indispensable in our lives today. These marvelous devices have revolutionized our lives in ways we could not even possibly imagine without Steve Jobs' imagination. So there is a lot to admire about Steve Jobs. But, and this is what I want to make clear here now, there is at least one aspect of Jobs that we should not admire and try to emulate. As a boss, Jobs was an abusive, belligerent jerk, a tyrant. He was obsessively controlling and given into fits of rage to the point of throwing temper tantrums and yelling at employees and board members like a petulant man-child. He could tear down somebody's ideas or the person themselves in gross public displays. He often took credit for others' ideas, and his sense of self-importance borderline on megalomania. This is what I want to clear up. Steve Jobs was successful in spite of his emotional and social ineptitude, not because of it. You feel me? His sheer genius in some areas allowed for some tolerance of gross incompetence in others. We saw that with other genius-type figures like Frank Lloyd Wright or Thomas Edison or Andrew Carnegie. But I would say to you, if you are not an outright proven genius, you cannot and should not act like Steve Jobs. He is not your role model for leadership. Steve Jobs, as an example, sends the wrong message to aspiring leaders. His success, despite his bad behavior, might encourage others to forget about the critical role a leader has in developing the people around them, boosting their confidence, and learning to draw out their greater potential by treating them with respect and dignity. We can only wonder what Steve Jobs would have been like if only he possessed all the qualities and behaviors that historical data proves makes up the very best and most effective leaders. Like the many leaders that I've spent time with, interviewed, or profiled, like Howard Schultz, a kid from the Bronx who built and turned around twice the behemoth that is now known as Starbucks today. My friend Bill McDermott, a kid from Long Island who rose up the ranks at Xerox, then turned around the 75-year-old juggernaut software giant SAP, and is now leading the massive ascension of ServiceNow. Indra Nooyi of Pepsi, who inspires a performance with purpose agenda that has helped teammates move from having a job to a living to a calling. Alan Mulally, who turned around Ford through the handwritten note. If you walk around the campus at Ford, you will see all the personal notes pinned up on the office cubicle walls that Mulally handwrote himself to his teammates praising their work. Warren Buffett, who sees his job as growing CEOs and then letting them lead. Ursa Burns, who her assertiveness guided Xerox through near bankruptcy by inspiring her team with a sense of mission. And there are many, many other examples of exemplary leadership to draw from, like Jim Senegal at Costco, or Gary Kelly at Southwest Airlines, or Andrea Young at Avon at her time there, or John Mackey at Whole Foods Market, and more and more and more. The idea that CEOs are demeaning and even ruthless in their Machiavellian type of behavior has become something of a cliche in American cinema. From Montgomery Burns on The Simpsons to Bobby Axelrod on Billions, the belief that CEOs will stop at nothing to get their way has become an entrenched stereotype. America's old and ingrained belief that a good CEO or executive level leader is ruthless has been replaced with the rise of humanity-conscious leaders. In today's times, people are fed more information, exposed to more stimuli, required to balance more life events, have more debt, have more to manage on a broader spectrum of stress than in any other time in history. The modern marketplace calls for more EQ, more emotional intelligence than it ever has. The best leaders know how to harness their EQ as a way to bring the best out of others. They are positive role models for their teams, modeling positive and ethical behavior and giving credit where credit is due. When teams are fully enrolled into the mission, the cause, the vision of an organization, where they can see how their contribution role fulfills their own personal values and their own personal identity, and they feel acknowledged and cared for by their leadership, unbelievable goals can be achieved and many millions of lives can be positively impacted. Whether you are leading a family, a sports team, a parent group, a charity, a startup business, or an international conglomerate, in today's diverse and fast-changing global culture and economy, developing superior people leadership skills will become your personal and financial security for the future. This is what the growth adventure of the hero's journey is all about. Growing the essential people and leadership skills that you can apply to any environment where other humans will be. I hope that you will answer your call to adventure. It will be epic. I promise it will change the trajectory of your life forever. Who is an emotionally intelligent leader that you admire? Jot their name down in your Darren Daily Journal and the 3 attributes that you would use to describe them. Then tell us who and why in the comments below. We are facing a global crisis. No, not climate change, poverty, or politics. Those continue to exist because of this crisis. Lack of leadership. Leaders of character, courage, emotional intelligence, and integrity. The world needs you to step up, to lead, to light the path forward for others. This is your call to adventure.